Welcome back to the Blue Door Pub Thunderdome for another Bull with Andy Carlson, Minnesota's 87th Best Daily Podcast, a show about everything and nothing. Sometimes about sports, usually not. 5 days a week. The voice of Minnesota. Maybe I'll have to start doing that. Has anyone have that as a catchphrase? The voice of the North Star State. Here we go. We're going to have Cory Hepola in from KARE11 News. Going to be sitting in talking a little bit about the news, a little bit about, favorite team is the Vikings. I'm sure he's got some Adrian hot takes as well. It's going to be a lot of fun here. And, yeah, tell a friend, spread the word, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Join the Jerome Army as Cory Jerome Hepola is just done. Do that up. Also, like us on Facebook. Making a big push on Facebook.com/Bull Show. Give us your thumbs. Give us a like. And before we hit it off with Cory, the way that you guys have been supporting the show just been awesome. Bullshow.co/Amazon. Take you right to the homepage. Here's what you do. Bookmark it. Just drag it down to that little bookmark bar right next to Deadspin and the Chive and that YouTube video of the cute cats. Yeah, you know what I mean. And also the bookmark of your ex's Twitter feed. Gotta let that go, man. Gotta let that go. Use that bookmark every time you browse Amazon or make a purchase, and we'll get a couple nickels in our pocket, and we'll keep on keeping on. Pay for Uncle Nick's legal bills. That's what we're doing. All right, let's get to Cory. And coming back into the Blue Door Pub Studios, you know what it is. Cory Hepola is here. Follow him on Twitter at Cory Hepola, all one word. Now, finish.
Yes, good call.
Bam. Now, it's funny because I grew up Norwegian because most Asian people don't have Carlson as the last name.
Right, yeah.
It's okay. I always get the extra once over at the airport, which always is
look
disconcerting.
At the ID and go,
yeah.
You
Wait
sure? Are you
a
sure?
minute. Get out of here. KARE11 News. Exciting. I'm glad we could finally make this happen.
It's been great.
It has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
You were my white whale.
And now you got me.
I'm like Ahab.
Well, don't go down. He. That's a bad ending for him.
Yeah. Did you ever read that book?
No, I didn't actually.
Ooh,
too long.
I think I might start this as my new game. Like, which books did they make you read in middle school, high school?
Yeah,
because that'll be very telling.
Yeah, we got to choose, and at the time, I was like, oh, I'm so busy, so I picked Of Mice and Men because it's like 100 pages.
Yep.
1984.
Yep.
As well, but that one is scary. That's scary.
Oh yeah, and it's coming true.
Yeah.
Let's see, my books were Outsiders. Ellie Weissel, the Holocaust book, which is very uplifting reading for seventh graders. Yeah, it's good. And then Grapes of Wrath, which was all these books
Steinbeck,
suck.
Yeah,
all these books are depressing as shit.
Yeah. Well, what about Great Gatsby? Did you read that?
No, but also I watched the movie with DiCaprio and what's his face. I didn't get it. Like it was like, what is this? This is crap.
The movie, Baz Luhrmann's movie wasn't. I like Baz Luhrmann. I like Moulin Rouge. Great Gatsby, the movie does not. No. Well, Fitzgerald's one of us. He's a Minnesotan.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's got to be on Mount Rushmore, I would say.
All right. So who would be the Minnesota Mount Rushmore besides Prince? That's a given.
Yeah, you could put F. Scott in that conversation. Bob Dylan could be in the conversation, although he's kind of forgotten about us.
Yeah.
The Mayo brothers, maybe. Mayo Clinic.
Oh, I'll one up you. The Coen brothers.
The Coen brothers.
Way better brothers.
As one, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, just one.
Yeah.
Ethan and Joel.
Just stack up on top of each other. Hey, very random aside. Do you think F. Scott ever picked up ladies in college or high school and be like, hey, what F. Scott Fitzgerald?
Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, buckle up. This is what we're in for.
This is what we're going into.
All right, so Cory, if people don't know you, they probably should. Why don't you tell me a little about yourself?
I am 35 years old. I'm a Libra. I grew up in Minnesota. I grew up in Perham. And then I went to college at Concordia College in Moorhead. Yep. And then right now I'm working at KARE11 as a news anchor with my wife, Camille, on the weekends. And it's been great. We've ever since I was 8 years old, I just have had one sole goal, and that was to be a journalist in Minneapolis. And so it certainly wasn't just that easy, a snap of the fingers. I mean, it took a 15-year You know.
Now, who was the idol growing up?
For me, it was Mark Rosen.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I've told him that too.
Yeah, local boy, never spent a day in the minors.
Yeah, and Joe Schmidt too. Like those guys, I grew up and I told Rosen that too when I first met him. I'm like, man, you have no idea. Like you were my guy. Like I would like beg my parents, can I stay up late and watch Rosen Sports Sunday?
I feel like it gets that a lot.
Yeah,
especially from the young and aspiring journos in the business.
Yeah.
It is funny, like when he's at training camp, there's a little bit more of our, like, since he is the more news guy, not a beat reporter, he kind of picks and chooses when he shows up. But all the young, wet behind the ears guys, I was like, it's Mark Rosen.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. What's up, Mark?
Don Shelby, too.
Yeah.
Don Shelby was, smart dude. Just understood it, made everybody understand what was happening. And then he was also just very conversational and brought the audience in and made them very comfortable. So I love those guys when I was a kid. Now,
higher ups at KARE11, if you're listening, Cory idolizes all the enemy.
Well, but you got to think, we don't get KARE11 in Perham. It stops in Wadena, which is like 15 miles away. So I didn't get KARE11 in a non-social digital media age. We didn't get them.
I have no idea where Perham is. I have no idea where Wadena is. What would be like the closest large town?
Detroit Lakes.
Okay.
Do you know where that is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Perham is like 20 miles it's like 20 miles east of Detroit Lakes.
What was it like growing up in the woods?
Yeah, it's weird because there's a lot of hunting and fishing, and that was just never my thing. Like I didn't dislike it, but I just didn't do it. I was more of like the pop culture, like guy that was into basketball and movies and TV and football and
Oh, all right. So like all your classmates would show up like spitting tobacco. Look at Hepola. Look him. He's reading a book.
Wasn't like that, but they were like, man, that guy wears a polo shirt every day.
All right, so from the young age of news, did you ever put on like fake news productions? Like not like fake news, but pretend news.
Yeah, no. We in like 9th, 10th grade, we would set up a desk in my parents' basement, and I would do like a late night Letterman show. And I would host, and then I'd have like my buddies would be the guests, so they'd be ridiculous, and it'd be like one guy would come in, and then we'd just do this thing, we'd talk and BS, and then the next guy would come in, and we would talk and joke, and we'd have stunts, and so we would do that. And then junior and senior year, they have a news program in Perham called WPHS, which was great. We had a great teacher, Sandra Weiser Matthews, and we learned a lot about what it was like to be a journalist.
My next guest is Tom Johnson from the 4th grade. Tom, come on in.
Woo! Yeah, exactly. Tom, have a seat. Tell us about yourself.
So we saw you pulling on Lily's ponytail in the schoolyard. Does that mean you have a crush on her?
Ooh.
Now, I love things like that because just remembering back, this isn't revisionist history, although it could be very convenient, of me getting into podcasting and radio and whatnot. I can remember that I would record like Lake Wabagon, like Prairie Home Companion type stuff, and then try and dub over it, like try and punch it up a little bit, make it a little bit better. Or I would record old episodes of The Simpsons. And
God, we all did, didn't we?
Yeah,
I did too.
No, except on audio. So, like, you remember of the age where you had to, like, tape over, like, that little tab on the top of the cassette, then, hit record and play at the same time. It was a very random hobby, but subconsciously, I guess, it was, like, pushing me towards this.
Yeah. Well, we had now that you say that, my mom tells this story of when I was, I don't know, must have been 10, 12, 13, somewhere in there. But that at Christmas time, I would go around with, like, one of those microphones and the tape recorder, just like a kid one. And I would go around.
Oh, the same one that Sid Hartman still has.
And I would go around asking people what they thought of their presents, and interviewing them.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so like she remembers that, and there's she reminds me of this dentist story too. When I was like 8 years old, went to the dentist, and he told me that, hey, you don't have any cavities or anything, but you better brush better because otherwise, next time you come in, you're missing spots here and there. It kind of freaked me out, and I was really upset. And I got in the car, and my mom's like, well, what's wrong? And I said, well, if I get a cavity, I can't be a news anchor in Minneapolis. So she tells that story now. It's kind of funny.
You can just be like Pierce Morgan. He's got bad teeth.
Wow. But he's
a terrible person. and not funny, got bad ratings.
But he's not, like, don't they have a different standard over there?
Yeah, I suppose.
You know?
Yeah. Now, all right, so it's really cool that the longtime goal was to be in the Twin Cities, and now you're here. But give me a little bit about you had a lot of stops.
I did have a lot of stops, and I think, and I'm glad you asked that because I think a part of what Camille and I want to do, too, is like just give people hope when they're chasing their dreams and inspiration, too, because they may see us and think, oh, man, they've had that in the back of their minds forever, and they ended up there. Well, it was not easy. Like, I can just say off the front, I've been rejected by 400 stations.
Yep.
I mean, I've kept it in my tablet. Like, I mean, I have this tablet from, like, 2002, 3, and 4 when I was searching, and, like, Xing out all these stations that said no to me. And it just continued over the course of my career, too.
Any notable stations? Like, did you ever have sites on, like, ESPN or CNN or?
Yeah, when I was younger, for sure, ESPN. Yep. And they've said, at that particular time, they said no to me, too. And
you don't want to live in rural Connecticut anyways.
Right, yeah, no, for Bristol anyway. But, so, like, my big break came actually in college. I interned for the CBS station there, which at the time was KXJB. Ed Schultz used to be the sports director there for a long time. And so I grew up kind of watching him, too, and he was great on the air. And so I ended up interning for them, and they called me back as a junior at Concordia, and they called me back and they offered me a job, sports reporter, and fill in sports anchor. I was 21, took it, loved it. I mean, his dream come true already. I'm like, wow. But what was happening is the ownership group was deteriorating. And so they were being sold. So a new company came in a year later, bought them, laid off a bunch of people. I was one of them.
Yep.
So then I was in college still, but looking for a job. Finally, I ended up in Montana, so small market. Yeah, beautiful, wonderful people, but ended up in Montana. So there's like 210 TV markets in the U.S.
Yep.
One is New York City. That's the biggest. 2 is L.A., 3 is Chicago. All right, so Montana.
Isn't Twin Cities like 16?
Yeah, 15, 16, somewhere in there. Yep.
Nailed it.
So Montana, where I was at in Helena, 205.
Oh, out of 216?
Out of 210.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I was, but it was great. I learned a lot. I got a lot better, and I was in sports at the time. But I knew at that point, like, I wanted to move up, and part of this business too is networking. And so I knew I needed to meet people after I was getting rejected over and over and over as I was looking. So then I finally got a job as a sports director in upstate New York in a small market, Elmira, New York. And while I was there, I was at the ABC, and I was at the gym one day, and I noticed on the NBC station this beautiful girl anchoring the noon news. And I was like, man, I got to meet that girl.
Really hope it's your wife.
And it was not no. So it's Camille. And finally, like, I emailed her just out of the blue, and I just said, hey, in a small market, you kind of know people at each station. I said, I'd love to take you out sometime. I just, And she rejected me like 2 or 3 times, but I'm a persistent dude, and she finally said yeah. So we've been dating ever since. That was 2007, and then you
got married.
Then we got married.
They had
been together ever since.
They had thrice children.
Yeah, all in a pretty short period.
What are the ages?
So our oldest is 2 years and 4 months, and then the twins are almost 11 months.
Oh,
yeah, man, we're in it.
That's got to be rough, especially with 2 news people's schedules.
It's tough, yeah. Okay, all right, I'll finish the timeline real quick. I'll condense it. So then after that, Camille got a job in Austin, Texas. And I was in Rochester, New York then at the time. So we were covering the Buffalo Bills, Syracuse basketball, and she was in Austin, Texas.
Now, about what year was this?
I was in Rochester from 2008 to 2011.
Okay.
And she was in Austin, Texas from 2010 to 2012.
Okay.
Well, then at the end of 2011, I got a job in Austin, Texas. So that was right before our wedding. Just, we're people of faith. It was unbelievable how it all went down, but we got it.
It's amazing you guys were able to hang together with that distance.
It was 3 years, long distance. Yeah, very difficult. And that's one thing I think that really helps us, too, even today, is that we were best friends before we were even anything because of we just.
Oh, you got out of the friend zone.
Yeah, I did.
You're like the only American who got out of the friend zone.
If anyone has any questions, get at me on that because it was. But yeah, we were friends first, and so anyway, But then we were in Austin for a year. I hit 30, and I've always had such great ambition. And 30 is kind of that where you're like, ooh, that reflection of like, have I achieved anything? And I just, like, I was in a great spot, and I felt blessed, but I just felt like I had so much more in me, and I was kind of disappointed with where my career was at.
Yep. And also stuck in a backwater podunk, no culture at all town like Austin.
No, like the greatest city in America, and at a great station surrounded by great people. It was unbelievable. But I just knew we had want to do more. And before I turned 31, I got the job in Houston.
Yeah,
which was my big kind of like.
This was
great.
The Comcast Sports.
Comcast Sportsnet. Yep. So we did Astros games, we did Rockets games, we did Dynamo, which is MLS, and we had a Texans pre and post. So what the game airs, and then which you have a pregame on CSN before and after. So people, if they're really into Texans, you can go there.
And they were kind of good back then.
They were very good.
Aaron Foster, not bad job.
Yeah, and I think
not
they made
old
it to
Andre
the
Johnson.
Second round a couple of times when we were there. Always loses the Patriots.
Yeah.
Always losing New England. But then, and so I was doing like our news programs there. And then I was also doing pre and post for Astros. So like, I guess what Tom Hanneman does here for Fox Sports.
Oh,
that's,
cool.
That's what I was doing there. It was great. But ever since I was young, I knew I wanted to transition into news. So, like, for 10 years I was trying to transition, but I couldn't find the right spot, and I couldn't find the right employer.
You identified as a news person.
I did, yeah. I did. That's right. But so it was interesting, though, because every time I would go to, an employer or whatever, they'd be like, well, you've only done sports. I'm like, yeah, but that's not who I am. That's what I've been doing. But
you were literally trying not to stick to sports.
Yeah. And it just was like, but nobody could look outside the box until I met the people at KARE11.
Yeah.
And these are people who are creative thinkers that think outside the box, and they said, yes, we see it. And they gave me the opportunity, and we'll be forever thankful for that.
Yeah. Cory's landed on pretty thick. It must be contract time.
I got 9 months before it's contract.
Now, you were doing morning with KARE11 before you switched to weekends, and now you're anchoring with Camille, right?
Yeah. So I did morning for 2 years.
All right.
Yeah.
How's the weekend shift?
It's been great.
Yeah,
it's been great. Like, it's been really cool because it's like in the morning shift, you are basically, I wake up at, you wake up at 2 a.m. You get in at like 3:15, and then you're on the air by 4:30 or 5. And so it's just a lot of like quickly trying to wake up and processing, and then like, I would do a lot of editing and writing and stuff like that as much as I could. But this has been great because I'm a newsroom leader. And so this gives me the opportunity we're on conference calls at 10 in the morning. We're helping produce and write and edit and make sure that our content is where we want it to be. So it's been a very good spot for Camille and I. And then, like, for us too, like, this is our hobby too. Like, we go home and we talk about things. We go, like, what else could we do better? Or how else can we positively impact the community? There's things that we talk about all the time at home.
All right, so what percentage of the time do you say your household conversation is about work?
I mean,
besides the usual, hey, did you pick up the milk? No, how dare you?
Okay, so those are thrown out the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like just a normal free time when
free time.
Most people talk about like movies or TV or gossip or blah blah blah.
Probably 70%.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I'm not kidding.
That's dedication.
Yeah, we talk about what's happening in our community. We talk about what's happening at our station. I mean, that's literally like, but it's always been our hobby. It's always been our hobby.
Calling it a passion fair?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, no, that is so cool when people, like a duck finding water, people find out what their true hobby passion, what they're meant to be doing, their calling.
Yeah.
If that's a little bit too much, whatever. But it's awesome to find someone who's just so dedicated to the job that it's that much of the home time and the spousal time is still dedicated to the work.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and it's honestly it's true. Like we do, and we're trying to find different ways too to, impact our community too. Not just like covering the news, but also like, affecting people in a positive way. And so like Camille's really into the Purple Ride Stride, which is the Pancreatic Cancer Association. Yep. And I'm into Alzheimer's because we both have connections there.
Yep.
And I did a thing with Can Do Canines, assistance dogs. And so these are things that we're really proud of, to be honest. And you know what? KARE11, they support you in that. And that's one thing I'm very proud of, too.
When you're dressing yourself for the air, how much input does Camille have?
A lot more now that we're anchored together. When I was doing the morning show, she was like, I don't really care. But now it's like, well, here's what I'm wearing. What color tie are you going to wear to match it? So we're doing the matching thing now. Yeah.
Now, what sort of feedback have you guys gotten?
It's been pretty much all positive. Yeah. And I'd be truthful if it wasn't. No, it's been pretty much all positive. But the good thing is we, there's something to be said about when you arrive at a spot, when you're prepared for that spot. Camille and I, this is not our first or second jobs. We've been in a lot of different markets. We've experienced a lot. We've both been anchoring and reporting for a number of years.
Paid your dues.
Yeah.
Moved up the Curses honor room.
Yeah. And there were times, I know when I was 24, I wanted to be in Minneapolis. And I thought, I'm good enough. And I look back now and I'm like, thank goodness I wasn't, because I was not good enough. So we're thankful, too, for that kind of slow burn. Because it didn't our career paths didn't happen as quickly as we wanted it to.
Yeah.
But now we see why. Because it's the Lord's saying, we were preparing you for this.
Yeah. It's like there's an old saying of, before you become the captain, you got to learn how to pull an oar.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's right on.
Yeah. Which, it's so cool that you have a very supportive spouse, because my wife obviously supports me, and I've done maybe 1,000 hours of audio. She hasn't listened to a single second.
Did she subscribe?
I don't think she knows how to work iTunes or iHeart or whatever.
I don't think Camille does iTunes either for podcasts. So
yeah, it's funny of how fast technology is moving, and I already feel like an old man because I don't want to use Snapchat, but just knowing 15 years, it's going to be lapped.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've completely I logged in and set up an account with Snapchat, and I'm like,
Yeah. Didn't what publication did a spot about you and a couple news people about social media?
Twin Cities Business.
There you go.
Yeah, and I admitted that in that interview too. I can't do Snap.
Yeah,
I just don't do it. But I do Twitter. I love Twitter. That's my favorite. I love Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter's good 90% of the time.
There's a little negativity on there.
Yeah. Well, the negativity is funny because. Well, it's funny to me because people get so worked up over it. Sometimes you'll see high-profile people just completely go off the handle, against a Twitter egg. I'm just I have the gene where I can never be offended. I never instigate anything. I never really get emotional about things. So maybe Twitter's perfect for me. But yeah, there's a lot of negativity, a lot of trolling out there. But I find a lot of it entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. For 2015, segueing in Viking stuff, when Kyle Rudolph was so bad and not earning his contract, I was objective, maybe a little bit humorous trolling or being negative about Kyle Rudolph. And then this account just started stalking me, replying to every tweet about and just even tweets that didn't involve Rudolph, just completely defending him. And one time he left on the the geotag settings, and it was Cincinnati, Ohio. And that's where Kyle Rudolph is from. So I'm like, oh my God, what if this is Rudolph's dad? That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, that's you're I would say fairly critical of Rudolph, but that's okay.
Well, I gave praise where it was due.
Last year. Yeah, he was great last year.
He earned his cash. We should trade him.
So whatever happened to Michael Pruitt? I mean, they just he got the injury. He was injured in preseason, and they just were
he was hurt, and I think
some attitude or.
No, from what I hear, just never no attitude issues except David Morgan, who they drafted in the 6th round. He's really stepping up. I think he's going to be a hell of a player. And
can he catch?
Yeah,
he can block.
He's a great cat. He's a great receiver.
Hands? Okay.
Yeah. Although I could see them drafting a tight end. This is a really good tight end draft class.
Yeah, you could get somebody in the 5th, 6th. Pruitt was 5th round.
Yeah, and with Red Ellison gone now, there's a big hole. But, I think Mike Cole ended up on the Bears practice squad, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that he played in the Week 17 game, which is funny.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. But, let's hop into that. So, thoughts on what the Vikings have done so far this offseason?
I mean, I think they've been fine this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I think getting is it pronounced Reef? Is that how you say it? Reef?
Yep.
I think if you ask him, I know they're paying him a lot, but that's what the that's the environment.
That's the going rate.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but if he is league average at left tackle, that's a substantial upgrade.
Yeah, that's all you need.
And if Remmers is league average at right tackle, and which he was in 2015, and they moved him around a lot last year, so I think like that can mess with the guy's psyche.
Everyone remembers Remmers for the Super Bowl, where Von Miller ate his lunch. But if you take that out, he's an above-average league right tackle, which is all you need nowadays.
Yeah, and so if you get those two guys and they play league average, great. Yeah. I still am very concerned about the middle of the line. I don't know. Like, I think Boone will be fine at left guard if you have a decent left tackle. But I don't know what they're thinking at center yet or right guard yet. I don't really know if Berger's coming back, and I don't know if they see him at center or right guard. In an ideal world, I know you maybe have different thoughts. I wouldn't mind them taking a look at Mangold.
Oh, no. Mangold would be fine. It'd be
at center, and then having Berger at right guard. Then I'd feel like, now I feel really good.
If Mangold can pass a physical, which is a big if, 1-year deal, low guarantees. Like if it doesn't work out in camp, you can cut him and no skin off your nose. Yeah, I'd absolutely be fine for that. But I don't know. I feel like people, like the average fan, is always a little slow to catch on to, this guy's past his prime. Adrian Peterson is a prime example of, they still think that names from 2013 are still relevant now. Like, people still want to sign Andre Johnson.
Right. Yeah, it's the game catches up with you fast.
Yeah. Or let's trade a first-round pick for Larry Fitzgerald. He obviously wants to come home.
Right, yeah. My concern is that, like, who's starting at right guard? Then Cyril's, if Berger's at center. And Berger, too, like, he's not getting any younger either. And Nick Easton, he had his moments, I guess. But I also remember when he whiffed on a snap and the ball went right in the dirt, against Green Bay. And, like, I can't get over that. Like, good centers don't. That never happens. Like,
I think they like Easton. I think he'll be in the mix. Hopefully Berger doesn't retire. Like, that would throw a wrench in things a lot. Like, if Berger does retire, obviously you want to give him as much time as you want with your veterans. But he's a family man. He's got interests off the field. I could see him hanging him up. But hopefully he does it before the draft. So then they
can at least prepare.
Yeah. Searles is good because he can play 4 spots, like every offensive line spot except for center.
Well, and that's good. I mean, he's what, $600,000?
Oh yeah,
that's fine.
He's cheap. He's young.
Yeah.
He's got nasty streaks. Sperano likes him, but you want him to be like your 6th offensive lineman. In an ideal world, he'd be your first off the bench backup. And the Vikings are set up like. I think this is a great time for the Vikings not to have a first-round pick because there's no tackles of note in the draft except for Cam Robinson, Ramczyk,
right? So then
Garrett Bowles, whatever.
You're not, forcing yourself to reach.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was really smart what they did with Reif and Remmers. Remmers can play guard too. So say if one of those tackles do fall, and you could kick Remmers into right guard, start the kid at right tackle, or there's a guy named Taylor Moton from Western Michigan that I really like. A lot of people like as well. But overall, the draft is pretty rich in interior line. So, say in the second round, you got a guy like Dan Feeney sitting there from Indiana. He's got some concussion issues, some other like shoulder issues, I think. But if it works out, he's a hell of a player. You could plug him in at right guard right away, and then you're kind of off to the races.
All right.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's the big concern here. Is the offensive line was just horrendous last year. And you know what though? The thing was, like, I thought they did okay in the last off season. Like they addressed what they thought that they went out and got Boone. They thought, okay, Andre Smith, if he's league average, he'll be fine.
Oh gosh, Andre Smith, man.
But he wasn't. And then they didn't expect Lodeholt to retire. And then they didn't expect the thing with Mike Harris. So like, there's a lot of things that went. A lot of things that went wrong, even like in the summer and in training camp, which you couldn't.
Like Warren Buffett always has a great saying of, when the tie goes out, you can always see who's skinny dipping. Spielman was skinny dipping. The way that he failed to invest draft capital early on offensive linemen, and when he did invest early on Matt Khalil and T.J. Clemmings and Willie Beavers are bad. So I actually legit think that last year he thought his starting center was going to be John Sullivan, his starting right tackle was going to be Phil Lodeholt, and then that didn't quite work out. So it was like, oh crap. And also Mike Harris was a badass. He was a freaking boss.
Yeah, he was good.
And that's just a really sad story. But we got some deliciousness delivered in here, so Cory and I are going to dive in here at the Blue Door Pub. What'd you get?
I got the Blue Sea.
You got the Blue Sea.
Yep.
I got my breakfast Blue Sea per usual. Stop on in 3 locations: Longfellow, St. Paul, and University on Como. We'll be right back with more Cory Hepola on Bull on Wednesday.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more Purple for the Win podcast with Andy Carlson. Come to you all off season long, covering free agency, the draft, OTAs, and then we're on to training camp. Get the show on 1500 ESPN, Podcast One, and the Podcast One app.
And come back into the Blue Door Pub studio, sitting here with my man, Cory Hepola. And, hey, you should be sitting in the Blue Door Pubs as well, especially Longfellow and University on Como on Fridays. Fish fries for Lent every single Friday, $12. All you can eat codfish. No, that's the good whitefish. That's not the pollock. That's not anything like that. That's the cod. $14 pitchers of Indeed B-Side Pilsner. Get entered in to a couple of drawings, including you could win a 2-night stay at Chase on the Lake in Walker, Minnesota. Do you know where Walker is?
Yeah. Walker, Hackensack, Akeley.
There you go. It's been a running joke where I don't know where Walker is, but apparently I hear it's very nice.
yeah, it is, yeah.
Fish fry at Longfellow and University on Como, but stop in the St. Paul one as well. Get a burger. TheBDP.com for all the details.
I think they have a musical fest there every summer in Walker.
They should have a Chuck Norris fest.
Moonshine, I can't remember. It's something like that. Moon Dance Jam, I think.
If they had a sense of humor, they would have a Walker, Texas Ranger fest. They would go viral. It'd be amazing. I was thinking in terms of going viral because we talked before the show about how at the end of every newscast, if you run short and you got like 30, 45 seconds to kill, the banter, it's always awkward. For audience, it's got to be awkward for you guys too. It's like, oh, good weather coming up. It's going to be shorts. I don't know about you in shorts, Bob.
Oh, those legs.
Hey, I got rid of those spider veins. I went to a vein.
We don't have enough time, Bob.
But you guys should, just to go viral, you guys should like light up a cigarette, bring down the neckties, start drinking.
What do you want from us?
We're
short.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But Adrian Peterson.
Oh, we're just going to, okay.
Just diving right in.
Yeah. I guess we were talking about the offensive line. Offensive line obviously was a huge, huge problem last year. I mean, that's what kept the team from making the playoffs. Well, Adrian Peterson, I will remember him fondly. I mean, he was my favorite player for a long time. Yep. I think, like many Viking fans. But it's time to move on. I mean, he limited this offense in so many ways because he could do one thing, and that's run out of the I formation and run hard. And, with what this team wants to do offensively, and I think how the game has evolved, is you need somebody back there that can, one, block on 3rd and 7, 2, catch the ball, and yes, 3, run. But, you need somebody that can do all of that stuff. And I also think, you can now you're not going to find an Adrian Peterson more than likely in the 5th or 6th round, all right? Yeah. Not like that true of a runner who had that vision and that speed and that power and even the quickness in his feet and the lateral moves. You won't find that, all right?
Yeah.
But you can find somebody that can be very valuable and that can mix in with this offense in the 5th round.
Adrian Peterson was born 25 years too late.
And wasn't it our luck that we got, one of the best pure running backs when the game decided to change into a passing game?
Yep. Now, it was I'm in the same boat with you. I spent some time just watching Adrian's highlights, and especially 2007, 2012. It's amazing to watch. When he got into the open field, he was gone. The power, the strength they ran with, that run they had against the Browns, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Opening week of 2009, where he just shoved the guy out of the way.
Get out of my way.
Oh, also 2009, William Gay. We just ran over him into the open field. That was the last time Adrian caught a pass, too, by the way. And it was amazing to watch a throwback style. My dad always talked glowingly about O.J. Simpson. The juice was loose, and I just finished up watching that the People vs. O.J. Simpson on FX show.
On FX?
I was like, wow, I kind of get it. But
yeah.
Adrian was an old school throwback running back as the league was moving to a passing league, And a lot of people say that Adrian, he carried the Vikings to the playoffs in 2012. We didn't win a game, and also he's only won one playoff game in his career. That's because of Brett Favre.
Yep. And against the Saints, he had a huge fumble. Against in 09 against the Seahawks, he had a huge fumble.
Yeah, it's a misnomer that Adrian fumbles a lot because his fumble rate is actually pretty low. He just fumbled at the worst possible time ever.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I love Adrian Peterson always. Like I will, and 5 years will pass, and we'll think like, man, he was so great. But it's just the Vikings' luck that you get Adrian Peterson in when the game evolved.
When did you leave Houston?
We got there in 2012, and then 2015.
Okay. Oh, so you were down there during the Adrian Peterson child abuse
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
So, Adrian from Palestine, very near Houston. What was the tenor of the story down there?
It came out of nowhere because I remember being at home, and I was scheduled to go in like later on that afternoon, and all of a sudden you started seeing it. I saw it first on Twitter.
Yeah. Friday afternoon, Adrian tweets out a Bible verse. I'm like, that's kind of weird. And then whammo.
So what? In fact, one of my buddies, Nick Wright, who's on FS1 now, he would come in. He was in Houston at the time. He would come in to the studio a couple times a week to do a lot of our, give his, opinion on a lot of things like that. But he knew about this a long time before, and it actually started with a couple of online articles that their radio station put on.
Oh, wow.
So he had known about it. But the thing was like, so our CSN Houston, when we were in Houston at that particular time, was pretty much split because it's probably like half Texans. A lot of behind the scenes people were Texan, and then a lot of the people that were like on air and reporters were not from Texas.
Yeah.
So when this whole thing broke down, I got in and I'm just hanging my head like, because to me, it's awful. It's awful. Like when you saw the pictures and it's just terrible. It makes you sick. But not everyone felt that way in Texas. Like the thing that surprised me was that there were people that were saying, what? I mean, my parents made me go get a Switch. I didn't even know what a Switch was.
Yeah.
When I first heard Switch, I thought it was like a cord, like an electrical cord.
I love during that time that whoever got abused the most as a kid was the supreme arbiter of like, oh yeah, this is okay.
Yeah, and that's the way it felt. Like and I'm not just saying males. Like women were coming up to me too and like, well, that happened to me when I was a kid.
Yep.
But once the pictures came out, you saw like this wasn't just. Yeah. It wasn't just.
Also, it's not like the kid did anything like extremely over the line. He shoved his brother or sibling off of a video game. Like it's not like he committed tax fraud or it's not like he ran a Ponzi scheme, right? No, this is just kids playing around, and then that is the punishment.
I just can't imagine that type, laying that type of punishment on our kids. That's who we are, I guess. But the other thing too with that is he. I always try to figure people out too. So like Adrian Peterson, right? Okay, his dad was probably pretty rough on him. Not that that justifies anything, but I'm just
when
saying,
he wasn't in prison,
right? But when he was a kid,
Sorry, Nelson.
So I always try to figure out like, okay, well, what? Because I think he had said at the time, well, my dad had done way worse to me.
Yep.
Not that it makes it right, but that's. You kind of get inside the head.
We go on for days about it could be cultural. The South, that's much more accepted than it is up here in the North. You could go cultural, the African American community. You could go socioeconomic. Adrian grew up poor. That's going to have a higher rate of capital punishment than, corporal punishment, not capital punishment, corporal punishment than more influential. But I don't know, like, I was a kid who grew up, like, spanking was, part of the deal. I still believe that there's a place for it. I can't really explain how without sounding barbaric, but, that's a conversation for another day. But that was almost sadomasochistic.
It was, when you see the pictures, you see. Yeah.
And also, what bugged me throughout the whole thing is that people turn into, like, moral decoders. They're like, well, that's how he was raised. We can't judge how he was raised. Just say you want him on your team because he runs the ball well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, when people are honest, intellectually honest, like, I respect that. But when you grasp at straws to adjust your morals to sort of justify your stance. Nah, like people can tell that that's BS.
Right. So, like Joe Mixon, for instance.
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Absolutely. Just say that you want Joe Mixon on your team because he's a great running back.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen with him?
I think he'll get picked.
Oh, he's definitely going to get picked.
I think it'll be relatively high.
I think he might go in the first round.
He might.
Yeah.
You know, I would say probably top 3 rounds.
Yep.
For sure.
Well,
not really going on a limb there, I guess, because it's sounding like he'll probably go in the second, maybe in first. But
sports is a weird intersection of like culture and real life, of where now we're sort of parsing out like what's more egregious: domestic violence, a one-time act of anger like Joe Mixon, child abuse in the eye of the beholder like Adrian Peterson. It's the part of sports I don't like.
Well, and it's also, I mean, like a part of this is that the NFL is so big. I mean, when you see the ratings from the NFL, everyone's watching. So it's the biggest thing in this country.
Yep.
And so, there's more people that are interested in all these backstories of a running back from Oklahoma or, a quarterback for the 49ers with Colin Kaepernick.
Yep.
Like, people are watching. That's why. And just in general, too. I mean, we've seen it within the last couple of years, but this country is, in general, pretty divided right now.
What do you mean? Like Coke and Pepsi?
That's where we're going to stop with the political comment. But I mean, we are. I mean, the election was very close, and it was a very rough process.
I've been calling my shot for a while. I think he ends up in Kansas City because for a number of factors. You got Andy Reid at the helm, who's taken a chance on shady character guys before. Like he's the one who brought Michael Vick back to the league in 2009. Obviously, they got Tyreek Hill, who they drafted in the 5th round, had domestic violence incident, which is actually more recent.
Hill did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
which
know
is actually
that.
more recent than the Joe Mixon incident.
Mixon's was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it was really drawn out, and it really sucks to say this, but if there wasn't video of the incident, I think there wouldn't be as much hubbub around it. But they drafted Tyreek Hill. They took some heat for it when they took him in the 5th round, but he showed his rookie year he can play. And at the end of the season, when he was doing big things in games late in the year, Arrowhead was chanting, Tyreek, 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 which is so...
Yeah.
It makes you feel weird.
Yeah.
But they're normalized to that. I feel like Andy Reid has enough clout to do that. And also Kansas City, Missouri, still a big Oklahoma Sooner territory. And they obviously made their deal with the devil with Joe Mixon. And I think that's where he ends up.
No. How many picks do they have in the first 3 rounds, do you know?
They have a 2nd-round pick. I believe they're 45. Let me look that up. I'm just, the Vikings were at Oklahoma Pro Day, both Spielman and Zimmer. So when they're bringing out the big gun, that's usually a big deal. Plus, they brought their running backs coach, Kennedy Palomalu. And they worked out Mixon and Samaj Perine.
Perine, yeah.
I really hope they're working out Perine. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, if Mixon is on the board when the Vikings pick in the 2nd round at 48, I really don't want the Wilfs to make a moral decision on that.
Yeah.
Like, I hope he's off the board. I hope the Packers take him because that'd be hilarious. And then let's take Perine in the 4th, and then we got Perine, Latavius Murray, and Jerick McKinnon, and let's go.
And that's the other thing too is like, and I hope with that 2nd round pick that they're. I mean, I'm into best player available, of course, too. But I also believe let's get a playmaker. What do you think of Peppers from Michigan?
Jabril Peppers. He's a guy that doesn't have a position, which is weird.
But do you think that could work here with Zimmer being creative? And
I think Peppers would be better used as a special teamer and an offensive player, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I know they're testing about it at safety.
Like a Tyrann Mathieu?
I don't think he's quick enough to be like a corner or a slot guy, anything like that. I think he's stuck in between a linebacker and a strong safety type role. Yeah, but it's funny. He's got a lot of the same physical characteristics as Cordero Patterson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, honestly, if they just had Peppers play full-time offense, he would be Cordero Patterson.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea what to do with him.
Yeah.
He's a great kick returner, and what can you do? Like,
you're get him on the field somewhere. Yeah.
What do you think about Cordero leaving? I
was a little bit disappointed just because I just felt there was more in there. And I think probably everyone felt that. But there was just more in there. I felt like last year, with all that was going wrong with the offensive line and And the running back situation, I felt, why aren't we giving him like 3, 4, or 5 carries a game?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Why? What is stopping us from doing that?
I
felt like, why not even next year? Like, and even if not, it's a threat. Like, then you can create some sort of illusion, and you have other things working in place. Like, I just felt like, I don't know. I felt like, and especially the money that the Raiders paid him, I'm like, I mean, we could have done that, right?
Yeah. And I like how Cordero tried to negotiate through, well, not the media, but the social media.
The fans.
Right. Of him, tweeting out like, hey, I want to come back. It's up to Rick, though, and shit. Yeah, let's Snapchat that. Let's get the fans on my side. Fans love players that are good in the media, are good to the fans, obviously. And I feel like that it's a concerted effort where unless you're an absolute all-world talent like an Adrian Peterson, if you're pretty decent, but whatever, just be good to the fans.
Yeah. It'll only help you.
It's an easy way to ingratiate yourself.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, about that is, like, I just have felt like, okay, you could line him up at running back. You could have him at, he showed last year he's decent enough at wide receiver. Kick returner, I mean, I know that's getting phased out of the game, but still, like, there's still a somewhat threat there. I just, with the money they paid him, and now I'm a little bit worried about the wide receiver position. You're putting a lot of...
we got Treadwell.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. I mean, do they know something we don't know? Like, or what about do you bring in Anquan Bolden and put him in the slot for?
I would love Bolden.
Me too.
Yeah.
And
I wanted Bolden last year.
And he's going to sign somewhere, and he's going to make a difference wherever that is. And then during the season, we're going to play him, and we're going to be like, why didn't, like we did last year, and go, we can't cover him in the slot. Why didn't we sign him?
Yeah, I wanted Bolden last year, and that was before we drafted Treadwell. I don't know. Like, in the draft, it was clear that they were all in on Doxson, except Washington maneuvered, got Doxson ahead of him. So I think they kind of settled with Treadwell. Kind of like what happened in 2011 when they clearly wanted Jake Locker, but then he went to Tennessee, and then Blaine Gabbert went, and they're like, oh, shoot, we got to grab someone. And then they just grabbed Christian Ponder.
Now, both those scenarios, the fact that they wanted, Locker, that concerns me.
Yeah.
And the fact that they wanted Doxson kind of concerns me, too, because...
he got hurt.
But he's also 25.
Yeah, that's okay. Treadwell's like 21, and he's still bad. So you can be bad at any age.
I don't know. Treadwell, like, I just watched him at college. I mean, like, sometimes you obviously don't know how it's going to translate to the NFL. But, like, watching him in college, I thought, man, he goes out and gets the ball. He snatches the ball. He catches the ball. He's physical. He's strong. And it's just weird. Did the injuries just kind of derail him? And that's also concerning.
Sort of what I thought as well. And that also he was, coming out of Chicago, he was a big man on campus. I think he was like the number 5 overall recruit. Went to Ole Miss with a bunch of other guys who now Hugh Freeze is paying the price for all the recruiting violations, but whatever.
Yeah.
And he was the man in the SEC, the best conference in college football, and then you get drafted in the first round, and then all of a sudden you got Adam Thielen, a nobody from Detroit Lakes, an undrafted walk-on, and blah, blah, blah. He's outplaying you. He's getting more snaps than you. He's balling out better than you because he actually knows what to do. That's got to weigh on the psyche a little bit. Yeah. And also, I think there are some lasting implications of that injury. Like, hopefully it's all worked out now, but, like, breaking the tibia and then also those other, like, ligament injuries that he had, that's massive, especially for a guy who runs for a living.
Yeah.
So that's my hope.
And Norv, too, like, again, this is my purple shades here. And Norv, too, traditionally with, like, rookie, wide receivers was pretty rough on him, too. It's like he breaks them down all to their, which is probably good in the long term, but, like, breaks them down with their footwork and everything so that they do it right from the beginning. But then that's also, too, then you're not even, like, thinking about playing the game anymore. You're just like, okay, step. You know, I don't know.
Where fundamentals and being at 7.5 yards as opposed to 7.6 yards on a route, it really was a big factor with Norv, and that's why you saw it like Charles Johnson in 2015 out-snapping Cordero. Like, Cordero was non-existent on offense in 2015. And I think they carried over to Shermer, and also probably some Zimmer influence as well. And, the NFL is so damn conservative. Like, they're so afraid to get creative or go YOLO or go against percentages that it's almost maddening.
And I have this. Well,
what do you mean, 4th and 1 punt?
Yeah. I have this. Like Mike Zimmer feels like with his defense he can win every game 6-3, and he plays like that. Like going back to the Seattle playoff game where everyone forgets Blair Walsh kicked 3 field goals, basically kicking a cinder block. I think one was like 45 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
Every time they got in field goal range, they settled for the field goal. Like they weren't first touchdown was going to win that game. And they weren't aggressive. That's Mike Zimmer style. That was maybe Norv Turner style. I digress. But I have this conspiracy theory. So remember when they lost that first game against Detroit? They let Matthew Stafford march the length of the field.
This past year?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was right
US
after.
Bank.
Yeah, they had the go-ahead score, which was on a tight end reverse.
Yeah, to Ellison, right?
Yeah, to Red Ellison. And here's my mind. Like, Pat Shurmur, that was his first game as offense coordinator. He's like, I want to show off a little bit. This is what we can do. And then Mike Zimmer's like, knock that fancy shit off. And then you saw how the offense was the rest of the way. Boring. You can't get a yard on 3rd and 1. You can't get a yard on 4th and 1, straight up the middle. And I think Mike Zimmer's old school conservative style does reach the offense more than he lets on.
Oh.
You know, like when Norv resigned, I'm doing air quotes, which translates well. Zimmer was very adamant about, 100% on the offense is Norm, 100% on the offense is Norm. Baloney.
No, yeah.
Baloney.
Of course it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, Zimmer was in his office, had to be, every single day saying, hey, 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 hey. You know, like, and
Which probably drove Norv nuts and probably one of the reasons why he quit.
Well, that and bringing on Pat Shurmur, you know, and Tony Sperano, like, I mean, you don't bring those guys on in the offseason if you're a little bit, you know, but 2015, too, like, watching this team, what bothered me in 2015 was that I felt like, why are we running an offense through Adrian Peterson and saying, hey, we know quarterback's the most important position. We know Teddy's good out of the shotgun, and we know Teddy's really good when he's out of the shotgun and looking at his because he can scan the field so well, and he gets the ball out quick. So let's not do any of those things to tailor around Adrian Peterson. And, we have the league's best running, you know, the top rusher and all that. But what's lost in that is that you said, hey, Teddy, we know you were really good at this stuff. We're going to have you do something you haven't really done a lot of.
Yep.
Like, and that's a completely – that bothered me. Like, you know, when Adrian was gone the year before, the last 8 games you saw what Teddy could do. Yeah. And he set rookie records.
Yeah, especially the last 5. He lit the league on fire.
And it was kind of maddening, you know.
And it's also maddening, too, of just the bad timing of life of a Minnesota sports fan, where Teddy, you saw in the preseason of 2016, we saw him down in Mankato. He was ready to go, make that big leap. Year 3, the arm was a little bit stronger. He put a little bit more weight on, and it's like, this is it. And then you have a non-contact injury where the leg almost falls off. I mean, come on.
What are the like? It's like doctors said it was like a horrific car accident, and nobody touched him. How does this happen? Like, I don't understand it. Like, and especially he was not a guy that got hurt. Like, he wasn't hurt in high school or college or anything. And he was also the guy that if he was nicked up, he always played. Like, and then all of a sudden, a non-contact injury in a practice.
Yep.
I don't understand it, and it's very scary to me because I still believe, like, if you have a healthy Teddy and a healthy Sam, you start Teddy. I think actually he would be better in this offense that they have now than Norv's, and that's the thing that's gone missing. I think people talk all the time, well, this is Sam's offense. It's Sam's team now, obviously, because Teddy would be better in this offense too.
They do have similar styles, but I would give the nod to Teddy. Like I said, ever since Teddy got here, like the perfect offense for him would be like Peyton Manning, Indianapolis, where calls everything on the line. He's in the shotgun. He can run everything because that's the big thing about him at Louisville is that he would call audibles at the line, and that was very rare to have that in a pro-style offense in college. You have a lot of quarterbacks coming out of spread offenses where their main play is 4.
Yeah.
Like Pat Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big transition for him. So it's unfortunate that just as Teddy was ready to make that jump, just as the offense was starting to shift, that happens.
Do we know anything about his...
Well, there's been a lot of, let's say, reckless reports. And then this is what bugs me about sports media, well, all media, where it becomes an echo chamber, and if you repeat not so much a lie, but a half-truth enough, it becomes the truth. And there's been reports about reporters who have talked to doctors who speculate on the injury, never looking at Teddy's
actual knee.
Yeah, they're not Teddy's doctors, but they speculate, it's very possible that he might miss the season. Then the reporter writes the article, and then all the Bleacher Reports and all the aggregators run the article. Teddy Bridgewater may not play in 2017, and it's a headline society, so they just read the headline, they don't read the context, and it's borderline irresponsible.
It's irresponsible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm talking to a pure journalist. So
it is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm at, because I see the headline, and of course I'm going to click, because I'm like, what came out? And I'm like, they talked to a doctor who's never seen him?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Was that video? There's somebody that shot a video of him training, I thought. Was that actually him?
Yep, that's actually his girlfriend has a private Instagram account, and she puts up videos of him working out occasionally.
But I mean, that was, 3-4 months ago? And he was doing plyometrics, and he looked pretty good.
He's doing plyo. He's been throwing. He's got a huge brace on that leg. I don't think he'll be ready to go at the beginning of the season. Probably be a pup candidate. But, if Sam struggles out of the gate and Teddy comes off a pup after week 6, and then all of a sudden the Vikings are 2-4, and they're like, let's see what 5's got.
Yeah. See, okay. So he could be, healthy enough to actually play in football again, I guess is what.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely be back. And, if he needs all of 2017 to get right, God bless him, let's do it. And it would sort of be unfortunate because, if Bradford plays well, you can't besmirch the guy. And if he plays well again in 2017, he's definitely earned the job. And Teddy, there's so many variables there where – you might have a spot where you do have 2 good quarterbacks, and the Vikings sign Bradford long term. Teddy goes to Miami or somewhere else and has a good career, and it's just like,
well, they haven't signed a backup yet, so that's one thing that keeps me thinking. Well, maybe he'll be okay. I don't know.
Well, they got Heineke, who probably,
you're okay with Heineke every night, right?
I like Heineke, like. This is also Minnesota sports. So unfortunate that the kid decided to kick a door.
I know.
Where if he didn't do that, I think he would have built on a solid rookie year on the practice squad, have a really good camp, good preseason, go into the season as the primary backup, and then Teddy gets hurt, and then all of a sudden it's the Taylor Heineke show.
Yeah.
Maybe he goes Kurt Warner on the bit. Maybe not. Who knows? They did sniff around Nick Foles, and you also got Colin Kaepernick out there, so who really knows? I think it would be smart if the Vikings drafted a quarterback, late 6th round.
You kind of, that should be almost the case every year, really.
Yeah.
With every team, right? Shouldn't you? You just never know.
Well, look at the Patriots. Even though they have Tom Brady, they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo in the 2nd round in 2014, and then last year they drafted Jacoby Brissett in the 4th round.
Yeah.
And they needed both of them this year.
Yeah. So I haven't told you about my dream.
Oh, what's your dream?
My dream just a couple of days ago was that 2017 Vikings started 5-3.
Mm-hmm.
Bradford gets hurt. And here comes Teddy.
And the Teddy chants fill up U.S. Bank Stadium.
And the Teddy and I don't want Sam to get hurt. He was fantastic. And he's seemingly a good guy.
Yep.
But here comes Teddy.
Yep.
Teddy runs in, leads the team to victory. They win out, and then they win out and win the Super Bowl.
In U.S. Bank Stadium.
In U.S. Bank Stadium. God, that's never going to happen. But that would be awesome.
If you could sign up right now that the Packers will not be in the Super Bowl in Minnesota, but the Vikings have to go 4-12, would you do it?
Oh, my gosh.
You can let it ride and take your chances.
Yeah, I'm going to let it ride and take my chances. Mm-hmm. I can't sign up for 4-12. That's miserable.
That'd be a little rough.
Especially with this defense and, I can't. Last year was miserable enough. Starting 5-0 and then finishing 8-8. That was miserable.
It's sort of depressing to think that Teddy's only played one game in U.S. Bank Stadium. It was a preseason game.
Yeah, against the Chargers, wasn't it? God. What was that, August 30th, 31st when he got hurt?
Or was it 2 preseasons games? It doesn't really matter. But
no, he missed the second one, that's for sure. That was right after that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Man, that was, honest to God, when that happened, my heart sank. Because I don't know if we said this on the air, but I'm like you. I'm a Teddy truther.
Yep.
I'm all in on Teddy. Have been since day one. There's those numbers that when he was in college that showed like what he was against the blitz and how good he was against the blitz. I'm like, now that's one thing. How accurate he was.
Yep.
You can't teach that stuff.
Yep.
Like that's one thing you can't really teach. Is like, how do I do under pressure?
And, we were talking during the break that Randy Moss is the first player that I watched in college as dominant as, like, I want him on my team. Teddy Bridgewater was also up there. Like, because when Teddy Bridgewater was at Louisville, they were in the AAC, and they'd always play on Thursday.
Yeah.
And they'd always cut away from, like, NFL Network and be like, look at what Teddy Bridgewater's doing. And that was, I mean, I was a huge Teddy fan. I would have been okay if they would have took him with the first pick. They had at 8, which they traded back to 9 to take Barr.
So we were the same thing. I was in Houston, and I was working that night, and the Texans were picking first.
Yep.
And at that point, we knew it was going to be Clowney, but the whole talk all that time was who they're going to take. Is it going to be Bridgewater? Is it going to be? And then Bridgewater kept falling.
Yep.
But it's because of his pro day.
Yeah. The Texans were going to be all in on him at 33.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and even before his pro day, they were like, should they go Bridgewater? Should they go Manziel? Because he's a Texan.
God, that's a great story. Yeah. And oh, man, in hindsight, they should have taken Derek Carr, except being the Texans, they obviously couldn't.
They couldn't. That was on the board. Like, they talked about it, but it was like, we can't do that. Like, there's just no way.
Man.
Because David Carr was the first pick in franchise history.
Yeah, but they let him get sacked 76 times. I mean, they can't expect anyone to be good
He
at
was
that.
just mauled.
Yeah.
Just mauled back there. And that just – I mean, we saw with Sam last year, right? Like, Sam, the first couple of weeks took all those hits, and he stayed in the pocket, and he was, throwing darts to Diggs against the Packers and all this. Well, after a while, Chicago and Philadelphia happens. You're like, I'm not going to make it through the whole season healthy.
Yep.
And eventually you go, it's 3rd and 7. Hut, boom. Just get it out as quick as you could.
He became check down Charlie.
Yeah.
And you can't really blame him.
No.
And, Bradford, I feel like he gets lost in the wash here and probably gets a raw deal to an extent. But he's a good NFL quarterback. Like, he's probably like 12 to 14.
Yeah.
Maybe on his good day, 11, 12, which you can win with.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't win at all, but it's a lot of teams, as you see, try to grasp that 10 to 14 type quarterback.
Look, Bradford's a good option.
Yep.
I mean, just on the surface stats, all right, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Just on the surface, okay? That doesn't dig deep. I get it. But that's good.
Yep.
Right there, that's good. Now, his third down percentage and all that is what really brings him down. But if you have a league average quarterback, or if you have a quarterback who's 12 to 14, I believe you can win it.
Yeah.
I mean, the chances are it's tough to go out and beat a Brady or a Roethlisberger or, a Rodgers. But you can win it, but the defense has to be Zimmer-like and has to be really good.
The Falcons came pretty close to winning with a top 10 to 14 quarterback, except then the Patriots took over.
Oh, my gosh. I've never seen anything like that. That was unbelievable.
It was so tasty.
You know what? Isn't it funny, like, how bitter we are because of this Vikings fans? I do. Like, there's a part of me that's like, all right, at least we're not the only ones,
Would you sign up for the Vikings making the Super Bowl this year, but they lost in exactly the same fashion that the Falcons did?
I don't think so. I couldn't do that.
You wouldn't sign up for that pain?
No. Like, to blow a 25-point lead in the third quarter?
Yeah.
No way. That's too much.
Man.
Because, like, you think about that has to linger into this season for the Falcons, right? Has to. I mean, they'll be good, I think. But the NFL is so, except for the Patriots, but it's so, like, every single season. Like, every single season is unique unto itself.
I love that the Patriots won the Super Bowl. They got Coney Ealy. They got Brandon Cooks. They re-signed Donta Hightower. And now they could trade Malcolm Butler. Well, they signed Stephon Gilmore away from a division rival. They could trade Malcolm Butler to the Saints for the number 11 overall pick, and they could trade Jimmy Garoppolo for possibly like the 12 and some change.
They're awesome.
So they could have 2 first-round picks and improve their team.
Yeah, they're awesome. It's what was crazy about the Gilmore signing too, because I still follow the Bills pretty closely too, and everyone there is like, well, like he's not that great. Like, I mean, he's good at times, but he's not going to be worth the money, all that. He signs with New England. They're like, oh, my God. It's just like, no. Like, Because it's Chris Hogan, too. Like, they just take random players from the Bills, and then, like, they're great. You know, even if it's for a year or two.
We're still staking our reputation on Shady McCoy. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, it's weird, too, because you see the cornerback numbers of what Gilmore got and what A.J. Bowie got in Jacksonville. And Xavier Rhodes and his agents got to be, like, just counting money.
I know.
He's going to get paid, rightfully so.
Yep, and he should. He's a lockdown corner.
Yep.
A lockdown corner. Now, what are they going to do inside? So will Newman go inside? I mean, can he at 39?
Here's my initial thought. Like, Trey Waynes will be in the mix, except Newman and Rhodes will still start. But when they go nickel, they'll kick Waynes outside, kick Newman inside.
Because Waynes he's fast. He's not quick. He can't play in the slot.
There's some actual Waynes truthers out there. I've been hard on him most of the time. We'll see what happens in year 3. But Mackenzie Alexander's not ready. Jabari Price, who knows? Marcus Sherrills is just a special teamer.
Yep.
Trey Roberson, practice squad guy last year.
Yeah.
Could make some noise.
Yeah, all right.
Also, they'll probably draft a corner.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But what about, is Roby Coleman still out there too?
Yeah, I think he's just touring a bunch of teams.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because captain was a big loss.
Yeah, it was.
He was probably the biggest free agent loss, like including obviously, Cordero, Khalil, Adrian.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, he played he had a great season last year too.
Smallest guy, biggest loss.
He just kept getting better too. His first year, he didn't really understand Zimmer, and what Zimmer wanted. Then he just kept getting better.
All right, 2 Vikings questions. We'll circle around to some news again, and then we'll get out of here as trivia is starting up. Do you think Mike Zimmer is going to be the coach here in 4 years?
In 4 years?
Yeah.
You know what I do? I do. Like, I think there's something unique about him. I think he's endured himself pretty well here. But also, too, I think, like, you can win with defense.
Yep.
And I think, like, even though they went 8-8 last year, and they went 7-9 in his first year, I still don't feel like they've reached their potential. And I feel like we've seen what the bottom is. I feel like, especially with him, like, he prepares that defense. They're always unique. They're always – so I feel like they'll always be in games.
Yep.
And I think I don't know. And he's also that – I don't know. I feel like people like him. So I do.
Do you have any concern about that other eye?
Okay, yeah. No, you know what? I do. I hadn't really thought about that during this conversation. But, yeah. I mean, so maybe the Vikings would want to keep him, but he may not be able to coach.
Yeah, I feel like that's an aspect that no one's talking about. Like, we have a head coach where he can't see out of one eye.
Yeah, and he's had to have, 3-4 surgeries, and now he has 2 more coming.
He's hoping to have 2 more surgeries that can get him back to 50% in one eye. Best case scenario.
Yeah. Oh, boy, yeah. I don't know. I think that guy is going to die on the sidelines. Like, this is his passion. It's what he loves. Like, he's waited forever for this opportunity. Outworks everybody. I don't know. I do. Although if Spielman gets fired, then there's a new GM that comes in, and I mean, that's typically the new GM comes in, they're not going to keep the guy who was here.
Yeah. What's your take on Spielman? I feel like he's pretty polarizing as well.
I've actually really liked Spielman for the most part.
Yeah.
I've felt like, and I should say too, I've really liked the Wilfs because they've said, whatever you guys need to do it. We want to win a championship.
Except extend Adrian Peterson. We need him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I've liked Spielman in general. And look, GM's a thankless job because, like, everyone can go, well, that you pick whoever, and, like, every pick isn't going to work out. It just isn't. It's a crapshoot still.
Like, even Seahawks fans talk stuff about John Schneider. Who's great as a job as well.
So I felt perfectly fine with Spielman. Like, I think this offseason has been a little weird because with Whitworth on the getting such low money to go to L.A., or I shouldn't say low money, but
huge money.
Huge money, but, like, short years and stuff like that. Like, I felt like, did we not call him? Like, we could have gotten him for that, and that would have been a better, solution maybe. But other than that, and then also Ellison's dad going off and saying that we're toxic and all this. That kind of plays off.
I think that's just sour grapes. Yeah, I've been a huge Spielman supporter, although he's missed on offensive line in the draft. Now he's paying the tax of having to sign outside free agents. But also that 2016 draft class is bad.
It's really bad right now. Yeah. With so Treadwell and Alexander.
Yeah, Treadwell, Alexander, Willie Beavers.
The Beavers one was, even at the day, you're like, what? Why?
Yeah.
What did you see that everyone else said no?
Tony Sperano, he can put a dent in people.
Yeah, I guess there's still other guys on the board.
Yeah. So I'm a big Spielman supporter, although there is a little cause for pause, especially if Bradford falters in 2017, which is completely possible, and if the offensive line is apart again, it does leave things open.
Yeah, I would say that. This is a big year for him. Yeah. But the Bradford trade is genius because he knew that Teddy probably was not going to be ready for day one.
It was a 2-year trade.
Yeah, and to give up a first is fine. Like, you can't get a Bradford in the first round this year.
Yep.
At 14 or wherever they're picking. So
it's so crazy. Bradford was the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
The last of the big money number 1 overall pick.
He's the reason they changed it. They said, we can't keep giving Bradford and these guys all this guaranteed money, and then, Russell Wilson's over here.
He got $50 million guaranteed on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. Come back to the news real quick, and then we'll get out of here. You won an Emmy.
I did.
When was this?
Just last fall.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so one time?
That's the...
2 time?
Nope, just once. I've been nominated a few times.
Is it really an honor just to be nominated?
I think so.
Oh.
No, I do.
That's when you should have said no.
I know. I guess I'm answering seriously for me. But I remember the day I was nominated because I had been doing news for about a year.
Yeah.
I've been doing sports up until that point.
What was the category and who were you against?
So I got nominated for 2 here.
Yep.
I was nominated in Houston too, but I was nominated for 2 here. One was for Best School Story, and I did not win that one. And then I was nominated for Best Anchor.
Yep.
So it was, it was Best Anchor, News, Weather, or Sports.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was all-encompassing. So I was up against Tom Hanneman here, and then there was a couple other news people and all that. So it's very meaningful for me, just because it was like I kind of worked my whole life to just, for a number of reasons, and then to be, by your peers, because you're judged by your peers. For them to say, yep, that's the guy, like that made me feel pretty good.
What was your speech?
I didn't give one.
No?
No, they didn't. They were, it was something to do with the timing. I got music off the stage, Yeah.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
You got to wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so what's your favorite story that you've done?
Man, there's been a few. The favorite story that I like to tell was when I was covering the NFL draft, because I grew up watching the draft on TV.
Yep.
And I was in upstate New York covering the Bills. And at the last second, we decided, let's go to the draft. The Bills were picking 3rd. And they're like, how about you take the news vehicle down?
Marcel Darius?
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
Yep. Yeah, great memory.
Yeah.
Right after Von Miller and Cam Newton. And they're like, hey, how about you take the news car down, drive to Radio City Music Hall by yourself with your camera and the laptop, FTP, tripod, everything.
And good luck parking.
And I'm like, oh, what? Like, and I did it, and it was like, I've never been so nervous, anxious. I mean, I was literally, I hardly slept. But it was the most crazy day. And then after it was all done and my stories made air and they were good stories, I felt really good.
That was a Christian Ponder draft.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I remember ducking back in because you're underneath in Radio City Music Hall. You're underneath, and so they bring all the guys down and introduce them to the media, and then you go back there and you interview them like kind of one-on-one. So I did that. And then as I was interviewing Darius, I kind of looked up and they said, the Vikings select Christian Ponder. And I remember being like, Boy, I don't know. I know they coached him up in the Senior Bowl, but do they know something? I don't know because I'm a little nervous on that.
Man, that was a pretty stacked draft. So Cam, Von, Marcel Darius, A.J. Green, Patrick Peterson, Julio Jones.
Yeah.
J.J. Watt at 11 right before Christian Ponder.
Yeah.
All right, so what was the overall tenor of when they drafted Darius? I know the D tackle's not always the sexiest position.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like, well received. Like, they needed defense, and they needed an anchor to that defense. Yep. And, I think that was a Chan Gailey era, so everyone was kind of like, all right, they're fine with it, yeah.
Could have took Julio Jones and A.J. Green. They could have avoided Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, they could have taken J.J. Watt.
Oh, yeah. Give me your typical day.
So my day...
give me your day on the weekend when you're setting up.
Okay. So we get up at 6:45, my wife and I. Babies get up. They sleep great, by the way. Like, we're very thankful for that. They sleep great. So, we get the babies up and ready, fed, all that. Play, read, all that stuff. We have a conference call at around 9:30. Camille and I both get on, and we just make sure that we have everything covered for the day, kind of what we're planning, what we should be doing. And then, babies are napping, this and that. Camille and I, we try to, hey, do you want to go for a run? Do you want to go for a run? So, one of us will do that while the other stays with the babies. And then we...
you don't put them in, the running stroller? There's got to be ones that have, 3 slots.
Yeah. No, not 3 slots.
No?
2.
Oh, just 2?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
So there's always, I know. Yeah. So we do that, too.
Yep.
And actually, today I sent out a picture on Facebook and on Twitter of the one that we have with 2, and I just sat my oldest son on the front. He just sat there the whole time, and we went for a walk. But, no, so then and then we get ready, and we leave the house. Our nanny comes, and then we leave the house at 1:45. And so we get to work at 2, and then we have a meeting. Everyone at work meets at that point. And we go over the show, what we should do, this and that. We think of other ideas. And then Camille and I, we write and, edit our content, make sure we're in with our executive producer on what we're doing.
Because people don't realize that everything that you guys say on air is, written, teleprompter.
Yeah, on a teleprompter. Yeah. We both take great pride in the fact that we help write those stories.
Yeah. What percentage of what you say on air is ad-libbed? Or just vamped?
It depends. So now doing news, for me, maybe 15%. But I'm also a little bit different. There's most news anchors just read everything.
Yep.
I ad-lib a lot more.
Ron Burgundy style.
Right. And
now, do you actually write
Ron Burgundy?
Do you actually write into your script ad-lib weather joke here?
I'll put so we have toss to sports.
Yep.
And I'll just put Gophers ad-lib.
Yep.
Or I'll put wild ad-lib. Or if it's toss to weather, I always use ellipses or things. I put ... ad-lib.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of what I do. I think not everyone's like that though. I think my sports background has helped me ad-lib quite a bit. So then we anchor 5 and 6, and then we rush home to help our nanny put the babies down to sleep because it's a process. Then we rush back and we do the whole thing again over for 10 o'clock.
Oh,
and then
wow.
we get home by 11.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even realize that you just rush home during that break between the 6 and 10.
Yeah, we rush home. It's only because our kids are so young. It's impossible for a nanny to put 3 of them to bed and bathe them and stuff like that. So
it's gonna be great that you guys are gonna have 3 teenagers all at once.
It's we've been watching This Is Us, thinking honestly, that is I know our oldest one is 18 months older than the others.
Yep.
But it's pretty much we have 3. It's crazy.
Yeah. What's the long-term plan?
We love what we do. Our long-term plan is we're home, man. This is home for us. Minnesota's home, and we really want to make a positive impact in our community, and so we want to continue to find different ways and avenues to reach people, which is different now. You can't just it's not hey, you're an anchor on KARE11 and you're the only one in town. Like, no, there's so many other people that are out there too. So, which is good, but we want to be able to make that positive impact because we feel like we have a inspirational story.
Yep.
And also we feel like we want to we have a lot on our hearts too. I think we both grew up in strong Christian homes, and that's what we want to do. So
raise strong Christian babies, influence people in the Twin Cities, stay KARE11 until you're a silver fox.
I'm becoming a silver fox quicker than you think with these kids, man. I'm getting more in gray. I don't know.
Oh, also, you're not wearing the glasses. I feel like that's that's like the calling card.
Yeah. I went to the gym.
Yeah,
I went to the gym, and so I take them off when I go to the gym.
Gotcha.
So that I can.
So do people not recognize you? Is it like a Clark Kent thing?
I think probably less. When I have them on, I get recognized more. Yep. But when I'm at the gym, like, people come up to me all the time.
Oh.
Yeah, even with them off.
Mostly good?
All good.
Oh, that's
cool.
Yeah.
All good. People are very nice, and but I think, like, people can see, like, when they watch me, they know, like, genuine, good guy, real, and also, too, we had talked about it earlier, but, like, prepared. Because people get annoyed when somebody's in Minneapolis not prepared.
Yeah.
You know, and I know, like, I knew coming in that I knew the town names, I knew the city names, I knew the counties, I knew, who the politicians were, and I also knew, how
St. Paul Mayor Derek Coleman.
Yeah. Huh?
We had a murder in Monticello.
Yeah. Shakopee.
Oh, man. Well, Cory, time flew by. Really glad to have you in. Glad we could finally make this happen.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to be a return guest. I'm going to impress that upon you.
Love it.
He's Cory Hepola. Follow him on Twitter at Cory Hepola. KARE11 News. Hit that up. Thanks, Cory.
Thank you.
Ooh, and also, you should get your ass down to the Blue Door Pub. And, hey, if you do, you'll probably tip back a couple of burrs, and it's perfectly okay. We got tons of great craft stuff. Producer Zach Bennett on the Andy Luke and Marie Football Machine loves hams. He partakes in some hams. If you partake a little too much, get back home with Lyft. Bullshow.co/Lyft, LYFT, $25 off your first couple of rides. That's what we're giving you. We're literally giving money out of our pockets to you so you can try out Lyft. You will love it, and it's the easiest way to get around town. Don't pay for parking. Don't get the car out. No, don't wear and tear. Just need to put new brakes, brake drums on the car. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Anyways, you won't have to worry about that wear and tear and depreciation with Lyft. Bullshow.co/Lyft, LYFT. Download the app today. The show's available on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and check us out on Facebook. Give us a like, Bullshow. Facebook.com/Bullshow. You know what to do. Yeah. If you enjoy the show, tell a friend, spread the word, add some more Jeromies to the Jerome Army. Do that up. And thanks, producer Allie, for making me not sound so stupid tonight. But for Cory Hepola, I'm Andy Carlson saying, Annyeong, sayonara, and bye-bye. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to Bull with Andy Carlson, Minnesota's 87th best daily podcast. Download the show on iTunes. Everyone's middle name is Jerome.